You're not supposed to be live till 7 o'clock.
Starting live
test
video.
the microphone. Is the
Oh,
microphone?
yeah.
Is it working?
I don't know.
Well, I've just gone live to test the microphone as
Can you
suggested.
hear the mic, Bud?
No, because it hasn't popped up on Facebook yet.
I think the lovely thing about our videos is that they'll all start with this sort of intro of...
A time lapse. Are you with us?
I am with you.
And you can hear me or not?
I can't hear you through Facebook yet because I haven't had an invitation.
We've got a few people viewing.
Do we need to send you an invitation, Bud? Is that what you're buying?
No, it should automatically pop up on my bloody...
No swearing, for goodness sake.
We're live.
Could be worse.
I'd like if you could see, for some reason it's not telling me how many people are watching, just when people are joining.
Right, I've got live. It is live now. Right, okay.
And you can hear or not?
It is live now.
And you can hear or not? Well, I'm assuming that's okay.
I think that's a yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. We are apparently live, and I'm going to be painting. My challenge today is to paint about 20 billion galaxies. I'm going to stop a little short of that and do some final tweaks on this gas cloud in the cosmos. But I need to finish those. I need to finish the stars before I do the foreground. At least I need to finish them in the vicinity of the foreground, so I'm not painting them around the foreground, which never really quite works. And I think it would drive me as mad as it would drive you to watch me do it. But I'll do one or two just to show. I've got two fine brushes here. One of them is old, which means it does biggish stars. And I've got another very fine one, which I'll use for smaller ones. So it's, I don't know, it's probably a couple of chapters of an audio book to get that cosmos looking right. So I won't do that all in front of you. That would be a bit unfair.
Do you base this on any existing star charts?
I did, no, not the star charts, but I did look at lots of photographs of galaxies. And I did think maybe I'll do a recognizable one or maybe I wouldn't. And in the end I decided, yeah, there's a lot more freedom to do it as a generic rather than a specific cosmic view. Now this is neat paint, there's no water in that. And what I want to do is smooth that edge. And I can do it with the paint without water. Wrong one.
Roger, are you joining the Asia or Yes tour this year?
Yes, I think so. Yes, it'd be fun. Yeah. I haven't really made up my mind here whether I prefer using undiluted paint, but it works with these transparent paints, so it is blurring that line quite well.
How long did what you've got so far take you?
Well, last week was 45 minutes. I've worked on it probably half an hour since, so less than 2 hours so far, but I'm kind of making it up as I go along, which is good. It's fun doing it that way. I'll get down presently to doing things that are more intentional, but it's what I'm doing here is softening the border between the yellow and the blue, so it's going a little green, but it's not such a hard line, so it's a tonal change as well as change of hue, change of colour.
Doug loves the Anne Wilson cover you've done out in April.
Oh, great. How did he see that?
So a question back at you, Doug. How did you see it?
Has it been announced? I mean, as far as I know, it's coming out in April, but maybe there's been some prior publicity.
Maybe.
I really enjoyed working on the Anne Wilson cover because it was an opportunity to play with really psychedelic colours, and I really had a great time with that.
Apparently Anne posted it today, the cover.
Did they? Ah, good. Good job I do these live painting sessions. I
Goody.
get to learn about what I'm doing.
The audience tells you.
Yes, they do. These paints come in all kinds of different forms. They come in very slow drying versions called open, and they're very helpful for doing this kind of thing, but I'm not using the open paints now. I'm using the transparent end of the range. They go from opaque to transparent. I don't think they have too much say in that. They don't. Every colour doesn't come in those different levels of opacity, but some colours work very well transparent, and others work very well opaque. Some colours, though, you can be very specific. Zinc white is a transparent white, while titanium white is very much an opaque one. So if you want to paint out a mistake, you could take a year or two doing it with zinc white. where I'm painting right now will eventually be behind the foreground, but I find it pays to work as if you don't know where the foreground is going to be, which is often the case actually. Although in this particular case I'm going to try and mimic the sketch.
Did you prep the canvas with gesso,
Yeah.
and what's your preference?
4 or 5 coats. Yeah, I like to not only give it a solid opaque coat, but I like to completely lose the texture of the canvas. Can you see that? Okay, so that's what it is.
So that just smooths over the kind of texture of the canvas.
Yeah. The texture of the canvas, my problem with the texture of the canvas is not how rough it is. The roughness of the canvas is fine. But the woven texture is very mathematical and geometrical, and I don't really like that. That's what I try and lose. But when I put on the gesso, it's very rough. So it has a bite, it has a tooth.
And do you sand in between the coats?
No. No, because I don't want it smooth.
Oh, we're being complimented on the sound.
Yes, that's the cat barking.
Well, that sound too is the dog barking, but also our microphone sound, which is better, which is clear enough to pick up the dog barking in the other end of the house.
Thank God for that. Yes, that's been a worry. I didn't realise it was not clear last week because until I actually watched the playback of it, and I thought, ooh, we could get that sound a bit better.
Is there any brand of paints and inks in particular that's your favourite?
At the moment and for the last 20 years, I use golden acrylic paints. Yeah, and they work very well for me, so I'm very happy with those.
See if we can get them to give you a sponsorship there.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. I'm the sort of person they want to sell them to. I have used other brands. When I'm using watercolours, I definitely use other brands like I think it's called Graham Martin. That's my favourite watercolour make. I used to use Old Holland a lot. I use it less so now because the Old Holland are gum Arabic based, and the Graham Martin ones are honey based, and weirdly the honey gives it a much more intense colour. So yeah, I like painting in very subdued colours, like Relaya, for example. That's almost no colour, and I enjoy doing that. But when I want the colour to be bright, I like it to be bright, and it's a bigger struggle with some makes than others. What I'm doing now is smoothing out the colour, but not obliterating all the different textures in there, but reducing them a little bit.
Have any of your works ever been turned into colouring books?
Well, no. But I have been approached to do that, and I'm quite intrigued by the idea.
Sounds rather fun.
Yeah. I mean, in the past, well, not just in the past, but sometimes I do tend to do a picture that is entirely in black and white and colour it later. I did the original Virgin logo that way, and the octopus that way. In fact, I did a lot of pieces that way, and yeah, it was fun colouring them. Not as much fun though as painting. So I prefer painting to colouring a drawing. It's much more forgiving for a start, and much more intuitive too.
With the blending the colours, have you ever tried an airbrush with plain water?
On what?
I think for blending the colours.
Yes, but you couldn't do that really with acrylic because it would be dry. Perhaps with watercolour, I haven't really, no. Is it good? A good thing to do?
Question for the audience. Roger, does a finished painting ever end up completely different to your plan at the start?
Yes. Quite a lot of them. Yeah. Sometimes I'm not quite sure how they're going to end up, so I couldn't really say they ended up different to how I intended, because there wasn't really an intent there. There was just a curiosity about how it might go. But a great many do end up pretty much as I'd hoped they would, so both to that.
Was there a fight among the Yes members to use you for the first set of solo albums, or were you always going to do Steve Howe's beginnings?
No. It's well, I've worked with Steve Howe on several solo albums, that's for sure. I worked with Rick on a couple, and in more recent years, Jeff Downes with Chris Braid, though that's not strictly a solo album. But yeah.
How do you feel about artists that take your work and develop something new?
Yeah, sometimes it's annoying, and sometimes it's amusing, and sometimes I think it's great. So it depends what I'm talking about. I've looked, I was looking the other day at a whole load of landscape paintings, and I was astonished about how many looked like they had the genesis in my work. What can I say? Might have not even been direct, you know, it might have been they copied, say, Avatar, and Avatar copied mine. It happens a lot more than I think is healthy. truth is, I don't always mind. It's don't know. I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with that answer, really.
Do you remember the name of the cat that walked across your print that time?
I do.
Can you disclose?
I had two cats. I had a tabby called Blitzen and a black cat called Donna. And the cat that did it was Blitzen.
Was she on her way to help Santa deliver presents?
Sadly, long gone, long gone.
Oh.
Yes, I mean that would have been 1972 I did that painting, so 50 years ago.
Immortalised cat.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say to a non-painter who loves to paint?
You've ceased to be a non-painter.
Yes.
I'm working here because I can't really work that area anymore because it's still wet. I'm hoping that these stars will become roughly circular as I put them in, because it would be an impossibly insane job to rework them afterwards. And what I have to do, I think about it a little bit at first, to have small clusters and spaces and more clusters. And what we're looking at pictures of stars and doing it, I gradually get to work in the algorithm of what it would be like to look in the sky, and I can just work on it on autopilot then and listen to a story or two. So that's where I'll get to when I actually get around to finishing these, because yeah, I'm not going to finish them in front of you because that would drive me mad.
Are you going to include any Zodiac constellations?
I thought not. Yeah, I mean, I did when I did the stars in the sky on the Tales from Topographic Oceans album cover, and I have done it on others, but no, not here. I'm not going to do that.
We're being asked why there is no music playing as you're such a musical artist.
Well, we did the first time we did, didn't we?
I think we did, to try and cater for our sound problems, but I think we might have come up against copyright issues if we can.
Well, that wasn't the reason I didn't, but basically because it's a question of you're asking me questions, I'm answering, so to keep the sound as level, as clear as possible. The album that's on the turntable at the moment, turntable of course, that dates me, is Tony Kaye's End of Innocence, his, I don't know how you describe it. It was done in honour of the people who died at 9/11. So it was the 20th anniversary last year, and he made this album, which I find a really fascinating album.
Oh, Roger, I've been asked a question. I've been asked whether I paint or do anything creative. Can I answer?
Yeah.
I'm an actor, so I would consider that creative, creating characters and things. I did try to do a painting fully inspired by just watching Roger paint. I've yet to show it to anyone, so...
Oh, that's amazing. Well, you have to now.
Well, I don't know. If I never show it to anyone, it can be Schrodinger's painting. It may be amazing. And it can exist forever in a state of being possibly great.
Yes.
or not.
Well, I like the idea of a Schrodinger painting. I'm looking close, so I'm trying to be really careful with it, but it doesn't really need it.
Oh no, people are asking to see my artwork. Why did I say anything? I'm so foolish.
Well, there you go.
It was all a story. I was acting. There's no painting at all.
We missed a session, didn't we, the week before last? And you were acting then, weren't you?
I was. I'm going to be in a dinosaur movie. So I was off fighting pterodactyls that week.
Is that right?
That's true story.
You mean that you were acting as a true story, or the acting was of a true story?
I don't think the acting was of a true story.
No.
That I'm aware of historically.
Not many pterodactyls around here now.
Not at the moment.
I do remember finding a piece of dinosaur down in on the beach. Now, where the hell was it? I'll remember in a minute. Yeah, I found a finger bone from a flipper of a plesiosaur.
Oh wow!
And
They're my
I
favourite.
think other people found more of it. I don't think it was ever complete though. And it was on the beach in Dorset.
Wow.
Near Chisel Beach.
Are there lots of fossils that way?
Yes, there are.
Ooh. Go fossil hunting.
I mean, it's famous for its gigantic, what are they called, amorites? They look like the size of a motorcycle wheel.
Wow.
But there's all kinds. But they're the really famous ones. And you can see them sticking out of the cliff if you're walking on the beach.
Yeah. That's amazing. Do you ever wear your trademark tan vest? Brian Nielsen can remember you wearing it every year at Nearfest.
Yeah. What can I say? Time of year.
Trademark,
You know.
yeah.
In the summer it will come out again.
Have you ever had an offer to work on a movie?
Lots. Strangely enough, I was talking today about possibility of working on a project that might be a movie, but I had a long time ago, in the 70s, I was approached by Dino De Laurentiis to work on a movie, and I said no, I couldn't do it because I had too much on. And in any event, by then I'd learned to be very wary of the Hollywood deals, which meant you had to give up copyright. And I did discuss this with Chris Achilleos, and I introduced him to Dino De Laurentiis, and Chris then worked on what became Flash Gordon. But I did have conversations with Dino De Laurentiis about a series of paintings we had at the time and about another film, and he was very keen to do it. What can I say? Conversations. Sometimes they get further than that and sometimes they don't. Just checking that these are my glasses because it wasn't looking like my painting.
Any of the fonts you've made available to download and use?
That's been an issue for me. I've had lots of people make the suggestion that I should make them available. I have thought about it a lot. I'm not really sure that that's what I want, but it sounds like a good idea. I don't know. Maybe one day is the answer to that.
That would be quite cool if you were on your Word doc.
It would. But at the moment, if you see them, there's a fair chance you're looking at something of mine. If they were available, that would no longer be a signature usage, would it? So,
that's true.
You know, there's pros and cons. I doubt it would be of much economic value. Yeah, but it would be nice to see them out there more, maybe. So what I will do with it is I'm going to work it relatively randomly, but without going for classic star signs. I will put in real patterns, but they'll be relatively random, clusters of 100 or so stars that will be portraits. But that will be in amongst a lot more that aren't. And the reason for all these stars, of course, is the title of the album. This is Chris Braid's Celestial Songs. Beautiful, beautiful album, by the way.
If you had to pick one story or franchise or book where you did have a movie input on design, which one would it be?
Difficult, that.
You can broadcast.
Sorry?
Put out what you want into the universe.
Well, it's something I think about, and I'll probably carry on thinking about it. But probably means that it's something that's been done. If I'll think about that between this time and this time next week.
And then we can announce it on the next one. Roger wishes to work on.
No.
Do you have an update on the bubble house?
A sort of, a double sort of update really. We had a conversation with Freya, and we're going to put up a series of photographs of it before we started work on it, when we started work on it. You know, for example, there's photographs of it where the floor is all rotten away, and then there's pictures where we've removed the floor. It's about 6 foot in the air, so you're looking down on the concrete car park through the steel girders, and then as we put the floor in and then get it carpeted. So it's, we have photographs like that. Also, Matt Sunderland, who filmed the school sessions, he's been filming out there from time to time, for 6 months now. So,
great.
Not 6 months of film, but over 6 months. So we'll put all that up eventually too. So, in terms of actual progress, this week has been significant in that there's been big changes. Well, actually, for somebody coming and looking at it for the first time, they wouldn't look like big changes, but to me, looking at it on a regular basis, there have been big changes to the silhouette of the outside, and a lot of very nice woodwork is coming along on the inside. Laurie has done an amazing job on repairing the windows and doors, and Barney has done amazing things with some wonderful pieces of elm in the bathroom, and Tony has been working on the outside. So it's been moving along very nicely. I'll take more pictures this week, but I'll give them all to Freya and she can select them in batches to put up.
With album covers, does the client give you a size to work by?
No, never. Even in the very earliest days, that never happened, thankfully.
So if this needed to go on a square album cover, they would pick a part of the painting to be at the front?
I probably would do that. Yeah. I mean, I design it as well as paint, so design and paint are of equal importance and significance to me. So that's why I do my own fonts and logos and everything. It's just, I like it to be part of a whole. The thing that's been most fun though in the last year has been working on the house. That's been amazing. Having to climb round it because it wasn't safe to walk round it, and now walking round parts of it which are finished, carpeted, everything. Not all of it sadly, but big bits of it. So it's, I've loved that process. And that's working with a team of very good people, so I've enjoyed that.
How many people have been working on the house?
Well, for the first couple of months, full time, there was just one person, and then that was Tony. Then we were joined by Josh, and then later Laurie, who worked at Trading Boundaries, joined us, and then finally your friend Barney.
Yay.
So 4 people. But from time to time others have worked on it, like the electricians came in and worked on it for a few days, wired it up, so now you can turn the lights on.
Always useful.
Yes, very. There's lots of textures in this. The camera probably isn't picking up, but in here and around here. So I'm sort of wanting to not obscure that with the brightness of the stars. Yeah, it'll work out.
Do you add the logo or the font in post, or do you paint that onto the painting?
No, I never painted on the painting. I say never, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. I've never actually directly painted it on the painting. It has to be used in different contexts anyway, so it's good to keep it as a separate piece. What can you see of what I'm doing? Am I hiding it or?
No, I can see all of it.
Aha.
What other artists are your favourite or influences on you?
Gosh. There are lots of artists whose work I love, but they were never they never really got a chance to be an influence. I'm talking about artists from previous centuries as well as living artists, but there are 1 or 2 who were an influence, and one of them was Rick Griffin. Rick Griffin was one of the San Francisco poster artists, and he did an album cover for Aoxamoxa, and I have to say, when I saw that, it was an astonishing piece of work and very influential for me and others. Not in the direct sense of I thought, oh, I could do that or do something like that, but really in the sense that it was about fonts and lettering, and what he said is basically you can do whatever you like, and that freeing up and being right, I can play and have fun with this, was wonderful. And later on I met him and we published his book, but sadly he died a long time ago now. But just last November I met his wife, his widow, and his daughter and his grandson, who looks like him. So that was very nice meeting them, and he was influential. Work of artists whose work I love. I liked all the artists who worked on the studio book. Alan Lee, back in the studio guys though, Michael Kaluta particularly was an amazing artist and designer. He had a fantastic sense of design that was every bit as important as his ability as a draftsman and a painter. One of the hazards of painting is you get paint on yourself, whereas that doesn't really matter. I'm going to wipe it off before I carry on painting.
Roger, do you do anything to develop your imagination like reading or daydreaming or visualizing.
I don't think there's anything more important than daydreaming. That's the critical thing for imagination. But you also have to feed it. You have to look at a lot of stuff. For me, the single most inspiring thing I can do is walk in country. And yeah, ideally, lots of different countries. I haven't done a lot of that in the last couple of years, but I do love doing that. I did particularly like, at the beginning, Scotland, the mountains and the forests in Scotland, and then the mountains and the deserts in America were wonderful, and a lot of the landscapes in between. Well, I've probably got to that borderline where if I really had to, I could count the stars, and the point where I would think no way. But I've got a lot of stars I've got to put in yet. How are we doing? Whoa. It's 1:45, so this is the time we normally finish. We'll be doing it here again next week. Are you going to be here next week?
I'm going to be here.
And things I should say. The exhibition at Trading Boundaries, which opened November 20, reopened November 21. It's been open now quietly ever since, but we're now about to switch around a few paintings and relaunch it. So if anyone is coming in the vicinity of Trading Boundaries, the exhibition is there. It's there now, but we will be relaunching it soon.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, everyone.